Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 17th edition of the Williamson County School Board. We have with us this evening Deputy Matt Erickson, who is on the door over there. Thank you, sir, for being with us again tonight. I'd like to call this meeting to order and record our attendance. Board members, if you would record your attendance now, please. We do have one board member who is on our video here. And he is here looking at us. So, Rick, we can record your attendance for you. And Tim McNeese is going to push the button up there for you to record your attendance. Okay. And we have 11 present and 1 absent. Thank you. Next thing is the Pledge of Allegiance. We'd ask Deputy Matt Erickson to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then please remain standing for a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda this evening is items of particular public interest, our public comment, and we have one speaker signed up tonight, Mr. Kerry Vaughn.
Thank you. My name is Kerry Vaughn. I live at 4620 Eagleville Pike, Chapel Hill, Tennessee. I'm speaking on behalf of the Williamson County Education Association, where the association voted by the teachers to represent them. This evening, I will be speaking in support of Mr. Jason Golden. Since the last school board meeting and announcement of Mr. Golden as the only candidate, WCEA did not receive one email of concern. Every teacher or staff member I had contact with had nothing but great things to say. For a school board to have healthy, lengthy discussions on the selection process and then to vote all in favor of one person speaks volume. Mr. Golden will continue to lead our excellent school system forward. As mentioned before, Mr. Golden has a proven record of collaborating with all stakeholders in our community. He has positive working relationships with school board members, county commission members, parents, local business, and all school staff. From the outside, this selection process may have seemed to move very quickly. However, to us that have worked with Mr. Golden, we have firsthand knowledge of his leadership and integrity. This thoughtful, seamless transition allows school leaders to not lose focus. Teachers and all staff can now prepare for next year. We'd like to say thank you for the board for this decision. We wish Mr. Golden, the board, the staff, much success in our future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item under the state law, the first voting item at a board meeting when you're determining a superintendent of schools has to be our superintendent of schools contract. So this is the first item that we will be voting on this evening, actually before we do the approval of the agenda because of the state law. So what we're looking for at this point is a motion to approve the superintendent's contract. Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Emerson, heard a second. Okay, we have a second from Ms. Cleveland. Any discussion or comments on this motion? Okay. Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Golden, I'm a supporter of this contract with you. I will state that my one concern about it is that we're giving a 4-year contract up front. I have talked to my peers and I've talked to some other significant parties who have given me counsel on why my concerns should not be sufficient to keep me from supporting it. I do think that that the district and everybody I know that has worked with you and my experience with you gives me confidence that you will do a great job. And so therefore, I'm going to support this contract, even though my preference would be not to have it as a 4-year contract right out of the gate for a promotional type situation. And I felt like it was important that I share my concerns about that prior to my vote.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I used up most of my minutes last month on this topic, but I did want to just reiterate and summarize my thoughts that I feel strongly that based on our experience working with Jason and his experience in this district, that he is the best choice for this district. And this is a great opportunity for him, and we're very excited, and I'm really enthused about seeing what is to come.
Thank you, sir. I don't see any other comments. Any questions? So we have a motion and a second, so a little awkward to ask this question, but as the interim superintendent, do you agree with this particular motion?
I'll accept the offer if you all vote that way. I'll have some comments at the superintendent's report time in addition to that.
Thank you. All right, folks, if you're ready, if you go ahead and record your votes now. Mr. Wimberly?
Yes,
Vote yes. Okay,
I do.
thank you. And Ms. Emerson? Okay,
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
well, thank you very much. Congratulations, Mr. Golden. You are now the... Once we sign your contract, you will move from interim to full-time superintendent. Thank you, board members. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I would like to make a motion for that. We have a motion from Mr. Welch. I'd like to second that. Mr. Hall seconds that motion. Any discussion? Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would request that we, I'm assuming this is the correct place to do this, since the part of the approval of the agenda includes the consent piece, but so I believe this is the point where we change the agenda if we're going to change it.
Ms. Osbrooks, do we wait till we do the consent agenda? Because I know what he was wanting to take 2 items off the consent. Do we wait till then?
But we're approving, you're voting on the agenda as a whole. So if he wishes to move something, now would be a good time.
Okay, so you can do it now. So you'd like to,
I would like to pull item 5C and 5D from the consent agenda and have that as individual items, please.
okay, then it will be added then. That's the approval of the PECA Memorandum of Understanding and the approval of the 2019-20 pay charts. And that will then go to new business items C and D.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so we have a motion and a second for approval of the agenda. Any further discussion? Okay, I see none. If we go ahead then and record our votes, please. Mr. Wembley?
Yes.
Okay, Tim, he's... Okay,
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
thank you. And the next item for vote is the consent agenda. I'd like to make a motion on the consent agenda as modified. We have a motion for Mr. Mitchell. We have a second for Ms. Durham. Any further comments or questions? All right, I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes on that, please. Mr. Wimberly, we're on the consent agenda now, as changed. And your vote would be?
Yes.
Thank you.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. What we approved was the May 20th, 2019 school board meeting minutes. We approved board policies on second reading, Section 4 and Section 5 policies. Policy 4.60511, graduation with honors or distinction. We did a deletion of that policy. We approved the Grace Chapel lease for Fairview Middle School. Next item is communications to the board. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mentioned to you all that I would speak to your decision to hire me as a superintendent at this time. And so first, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your faith in me. And I want to thank you for so many of you who've made some particular comments about the process that you went through as an elected official to come to that decision. And it was both humbling and encouraging to me, if that makes sense, to hear all that. As we went through the process over the last month or so of meeting the public, spending time on social media where you actually get a lot of viewers because we can accommodate parents, based on their schedules, and spending time in schools. I've been in close to half the schools really in the past 5-6 weeks, in large part because we're making changes this time of year with leaders and that kind of thing. But a couple of things struck me. One, I didn't really have a grasp of how many teachers I knew over the course of the 13 and a half or so years I've been serving them. And that was really neat for me to see, that we've really developed a relationship with teachers over the course of this. We've developed a really good relationship with our parents, and more important, we've developed a relationship with our students as we serve them on an annual basis. This is hard work, and you all have heard that before, and it's true. It is hard work, and it's important work. And so I'm so excited to be a part of it. As we as a district have grown and evolved, we've gotten better all the time. We've gotten better by so many measures, and so many of those things that you can't measure, we've gotten better and better. And I think it's important for continuity purposes, if you're going to maintain that push to get better all the time, having a good team that grows as a team is very important. And so I appreciate your faith, not just in me, but in our team, in the central office staff that leads our schools, and especially in the decisions that we've made over the years for principals, and ultimately their decisions and the teachers we hire, which, truth be told, is where the rubber meets the road. And so I want to thank you all for that. We got to keep our foot on the gas. This is not one of those, whew, boy, yeah, all right, we got somebody that we're comfortable with. I'm convinced, and I've been convinced professionally over time, people do well when they're happy. People do better when they're happy, and when they continue to push because they want to do well. They want to do well for the students they serve. And we're going to continue to push for that. We're going to continue to work to put tools in the hands of our teachers to do better all the time. We have to continue to innovate. And you all as a board have helped us with that, with your strategic plan. We're going to continue good conversations with our business leaders. We have a really, really good working relationship with our Chamber of Commerce, Williamson, Inc. We're going to spend some time with them and revamp that and make sure that we're hitting on all cylinders there. And I could go on and on all night because I love this district so much, and I know what our strengths are. I know our areas for improvement, but we're going to spend a little bit more time over the next couple of months listening to our families, especially as the school year started, and make sure that in everything we do, we put students first. So thank you. I do have a couple more housekeeping items to mention to you. Our county commission, which by the way has been very supportive in the time I've been here the last 13, 14 years, their annual budget meeting is July 8th. We will have had that meeting by the time our board next meets. That's a 9 a.m. meeting. That is their annual morning meeting as they discuss our budget and the budget for the county departments. That's a very important meeting for us. And I really believe, to some degree, it's a paradigm shift meeting because what we're doing and what we're asking of the commission is to make a commitment to our teachers, especially the teachers at the first few years' pay, so that they can have a livable wage. And I appreciate the commitment that the County Commission Budget Committee, the County Commission Education Committee have already articulated at their meetings as they've been vetting our budget. So that's a big meeting. If you're not able to attend, I will make sure I send you an email out and let you know how that goes. With that, it's summertime. We're doing a lot of professional development, and students are spending some time relaxing and probably reading their list, reading over the course of the summer. But because our school just let out a few weeks ago, we have had some student successes in the meantime that we haven't had a chance to celebrate. So I want to reintroduce you to Carol Birdsong to come share some spotlights. Carol?
Thank you, Mr. Golden, and board members. We have a lot to celebrate in this month of June. First of all, we are going to start with a national award, and this is the Fairview High School crew who produced a movie called -1, and they submitted this for the Telly Awards, a national competition, and they were a winner in the general student category. And just so you know, Dayton, who was on this crew, is back there working your meeting tonight. So there you go. So congratulations to them and to Bob King, their fabulous media production teacher. We have actually 2 Gatorade Athletes of the Year. The Tennessee Gatorade Boys Soccer Player of the Year also comes from Fairview High School. His name is Brandon Parrish. His coach is Shane Smith. At Independence High School, the Tennessee Gatorade Baseball Player of the Year is Robert Hassel. Robert's coach is Mike McLaury. Let's talk about TSSAA and the great job that Brentwood High School did. You're going to hear Brentwood a lot, and so just enjoy this. This is the Brentwood High School boys tennis team. They are your state champions, but the girls are also your state champions. And then when we get into singles, this is Donovan Janisic. He is your single state champion from Brentwood. And this is Hamza Javaga, and she is your single state champion for girls, also from Brentwood. And in girls doubles, this is Alex Torrey and Georgia Fisher, also from Brentwood. Their coaches are Bud Robinson and Haley Stover. Also from Brentwood, we're going to continue with TSSAA boys track. This is the team championship, and they are your state champions. This is Skylar Coffey. Skylar won 2 state champions, the first one in discus and the second one in shot put. Also from Brentwood High School, this is Jet Kinder. Jet also won 2 state championships, one for pole vault and one for decathlon. And then this is Avery Williams. Avery won in the triple jump. Also from Brentwood, their coach is Steve Brock. From Centennial High School, this is Avery McMullen. She also won 2 state championships, one for the long jump and one for the pentathlon. Her coaches are Marcia Bobe and Stanley Miller. And last but not least, the Franklin boys track team, and they won in the 4x800 relay. Their coach is Jamie Carolyn. Congratulations to all of our students.
Mr. Chair, that's my report.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Golden on his report? All right, I see none. The next item is the board chairman's report. There's 3 things. One, we do not have any regular board meetings scheduled for July. That means no policy, no work session, and no regular board meeting. But we do have one meeting scheduled for July, and that will be held at the factory because it is the superintendent's celebration, and that's on July 23rd from 5 to 8 p.m. And so hopefully, board members, you'll be able to make that event and celebrate with the administration and staff at the celebration of superintendents. The other item I have is the retreat topics. I hope that you're thinking about things you want to discuss at our retreat. We're looking at a date in early September if possible. So please do turn those in to Ms. Hagan on any items that you would like to see us discuss at a retreat. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Have you set a date for that retreat?
No, not yet. We have not set a date as yet.
But September is the month.
We're hoping to shoot for early September. We had talked about August and September. Mr. Golden had asked that we try to do it in September rather than August, since it's the start of school and there's always a lot of things going on to get this school year started.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm hoping that we can have it in between the August and September meeting during that window.
Okay, anyone have any questions for me? All right, I see none. Then the next item is unfinished business. We have no unfinished business. The next is new business, and it's the 2018-2019 school board budget. Mr. Golden, would you like to handle this? The first one is the intercategory transfer general purpose school fund adjustment for sped expenses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A number of these items are housekeeping items for end-of-the-year budget. And this particular one, we're asking for additional funds for contracted services at the end of the year. We recommend approval.
Anyone like to make a motion for this one? We have a motion from Mr. Mitchell. We have a second from Mr. Cash. Is there any further discussion on this one? Okay, I see none. If you'd go ahead and record your votes then, please. Mr. Wimberly?
Yes.
Thank you. Votes are all recorded.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is intercategory transfer, general purpose school fund amendment. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are the inter-category budget transfers for the end of the year. As you can see, there are a number of them. This is something that we work through annually through Leslie Holman's office. And some of this detail is detail that really we've been working on up through today, actually. We recommend approval.
Thank you. Anyone like to make a motion for this one? We have a motion from Ms. Garrett. Anyone like to second that motion? We have a second from Ms. Durham. Any further discussions on this one? Okay, I see none. You have the recommendation. If you'd go ahead and record your votes, please. Mr. Durham? Mr. Wimberly?
Yes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is intra-category transfer, central cafeteria fund amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I interrupted you. Same principle behind the general fund for cafeteria, end of the year adjustments. Recommend approval.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? We have a motion from Mr. Welch. We have a second from Mr. Hawk. Any further discussion? Okay, I see none. We have the recommendation from the superintendent. If you go ahead and record your votes, please. Mr. Wimberly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next one is intercategory transfer for the extended school program fund amendment. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is actually a particular item where the state has allocated an additional $3,850 for training, so we need your approval to add that to the budget.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? We have a motion from Ms. Emerson. I'd like to second it. We have a second from Mr. Cash. Any further discussions, comments, questions? Okay, I see none. You have your recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, please. Mr. Wimberly?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is a general purpose school fund amendment for pre-K training and curriculum. Mr. Golden.
Mr. Chair, I mentioned the pre-K training and curriculum one at the $3,850, so I gave you the wrong information on that. This one's the $3,850 one. I apologize for that.
Okay. I would like to make a motion on this one. Motion for Ms. Emerson. Like to second it? We have a second from Mr. Welch. Any comments, questions? Okay, I see none. If you go ahead and record your votes then, please. Mr. Wimberly?
Yes.
You, Ms. Emerson?
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is General Purpose School Fund Amendment, MTSU CTE. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have had some good success with the MTSU dual enrollment program. So we have received an additional $10,000 in funds from MTSU and actually had some commensurate expenses that we need to pay. So we recommend approval for that.
Anyone like to make a motion for this one? Motion for Mr. Cash. We have a second from Mr. Mitchell. Any further comments, questions, discussion? Mr. Galbraith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have we gotten this money before? I apologize, I wasn't able to ask this on Thursday.
Leslie Holman has answered the question non-verbally for me. She's nodding her head yes, so I'm actually going to give her the opportunity to answer with some detail.
This is about the third year that we've dealt with the dual enrollment. We have teachers that teach after school, and a dual enrollment, and we also have teachers that teach during the school day. And then we use the money that MTSU pays us to not reimburse them, but pay them for the work that they do outside the calendar. And then also use the money to use it for tuition for teachers, to get more teachers licensed so they're able to teach these college courses.
Gotcha. Because I would love to figure out a way that, I mean, obviously those are great uses of funds. I'm glad we're using it for this purpose rather than just putting it in the general fund. But I guess I would love to figure out a way to find an alternate funding source for these students who are doing dual enrollment, and in particular through the community college, and recognizing that they're actually the only people in the entire state of Tennessee that are paying tuition for community college, which doesn't make much sense to me. And so if there's any way that we can get support from either the colleges or from the business community to help offer tuition opportunities for these people, it would be much appreciated. So just to put it out there.
Okay. Any responses?
We'll study that. Thank you for that suggestion.
Okay, we have the recommendation, and we have the motion and a second. Go ahead then and record your votes. Mr. Wimberly?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
All right, the next item under new business, item B, is 2019-2020 school board meeting schedule. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Annually, we in June make a list of the proposed meeting dates. It's actually driven by board policy. The board policy calls for your regular meetings to generally be at 6:30 on the third Monday of every month. So this proposal is a reflection of that. The meetings are at 6:30, the regular scheduled meetings. The work sessions are traditionally at 6 o'clock, and the policy committee meetings are at 6 o'clock as well. Staff recommends approval.
Anyone like to make a motion on the meeting schedule? We have a motion from Ms. Durham. We have a second from Mr. Mitchell. Is there any further comments, discussions, or questions about the proposed schedule? Okay, I see none. If you go ahead then and record your votes, please. Mr. Wimberly?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
All right, the next item is, item that was pulled from the consent agenda is the approval of the PECA Memorandum of Understanding. I'd like to call on Mr. Golden to talk about that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the PECA Memorandum of Understanding, which actually is scheduled for the first of a 3-year agreement. We've spent some time over the years talking about this. We actually, in your board packet, have highlighted the proposed changes. We did not start at zero with the WCEA as we met to discuss this. We started with where we were and made some tweaks to try to improve our relationship just a little bit better in writing. So staff recommends approval on this PECA Memorandum of Understanding.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion on this? We have a motion from Ms. Garrett, second from Mr. Hall. Any comments or discussions? Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had pulled this specifically so I could make this statement that I have a relative who is employed by the school system and certify that I will vote in the best interest of the district.
Thank you. Anyone else like to make a comment? Mr. Wimberly?
And I would like to say that I'm Rick Wimberly, and I have a relative employed by the school system and certify that I will vote in the best interest of the school district. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this item? Okay, I see none. You have the director's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, please. Mr. Wimberly?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item was also pulled from the consent agenda. It is the approval of the 2019-2020 pay charts. Would anyone like to make a, let me call on Mr. Golden first, talk about this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is, as stated, the proposed pay charts for the 2019-2020 school year. Ultimately, this is pending commission approval for the budget meeting that I mentioned that's scheduled for July 8th. And it reflects the detail of what I mentioned, especially with respect to teacher pay, but also covering classified pay and the phase 3 of our improvement plan for classified. We recommend approval.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? We have a motion from Mr. Cash. We have a second from Ms. Durham. Any further discussion, comments, or questions? Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to state that my name is Elliot Mitchell and that I have a relative employed by the school system and that I certify I will vote in the best interest of the district.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wimberly?
And I, Rick Wimberly, state that I have a relative employed by the school system and certify that I will vote in the best interest of the school district.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments, questions, or discussions? I see none. You have the director's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, then please.
Bless you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cash, did you want to speak then? Okay. Okay, Mr. Wimberly, your vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Okay, it's a sad time to say, but we're out of agenda items for tonight. So I guess it's time to go home. So if you're okay, we can call this meeting adjourned?
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.